Just the second pair of teammates in the Super Bowl era with 300-plus receiving yards each through 3 games since Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson did it for Tampa Bay in 2018. All right. Let me ask you this, Stephen A. Who's the better wide receiver duo? Is it Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, or would you go the Bengals, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins?
I think better is a strong word. I'm not going to go that far because I know what Higgins and Chase and Boyd bring to the table. When I think about Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, I'm going to go with them only for this reason. I mean, you got guys like Chase and Higgins and these brothers that make plays, and we understand how lethal and big time they are, Dan. What I marvel at when it comes to a Hill or a Waddle is how everybody knows they going deep.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you got to lay back and you can't let them behind you. And they still do it anyway. You see, and I measure, just so you know, it doesn't matter what sport it is, Dan, I don't measure things schematically when I see players. Because when I see a coach and he comes up with the right schemes and what have you, most folks can capitalize off of that if your scheme is superior to the competition. What I pay attention to when I'm measuring greatness is I know exactly what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it. You know I know. And there's still not a damn thing that I can do about it. That's what I see. When I covered Jordan and I covered Kobe and we watched LeBron and others, what you have to remember is when you know what they're going to do and you still can't stop them. And I remember when primetime Deion Sanders used to tell me, it got so bad for him, Dan. Dan, he told me this, and I'm sure you've heard this story before because he's told others afterwards. But he told me this before. He's like, yo, man, you out there and you get so bored that they won't throw the football in your way because they knew that he was the best corner in history. Yeah. That he literally damn near played dead and would act like, he missed a play or whatever and let a guy get a head start.
Yeah.
Just so the quarterback would throw the football and then he could go and get the interception and take it to the house. This is the kind of stuff that he talked about because that's how great he was. And so I look at Tyreek Hill and I look at the Jaylen Waddle. And their speed is so electrifying. The way they can get behind the defense. I'm just saying to myself, when I look at them right now, the fact that you know what they bring to the table. It could be a 5-yard, a dip and dunk pass, right there, and they could take it to the house. It could be a short yard situation, they take it to the house. Or they could just do a fly pass, they just take it to the house. You cannot stop these brothers on your own. You got to get to the quarterback because you can't stop them.
Yeah.
That's what I see when I see them. That's why I go with them.
That's fair, Stephen A. Hearing your stories, it makes me think I was fortunate. I played with some really good receivers in the league, some Hall of Famers. Like I played with Calvin Johnson a pretty good amount of time.
Megatron.
Yeah, I played with Andre Johnson. Remember him, the Houston Texans, big-time player. I played more with Calvin than Andre. I remember, and this is kind of what you were hinting at. I remember we're playing with Calvin. We're trying to figure out ways to get Calvin the ball, and we're going to run him on a 5-yard hitch route. Just run up 5 yards and stop. And the Colts, we were going to play the Colts, and they play cover 2, so a corner is going to be sitting right there. A hitch route into a cover 2 corner plays absolutely dumb. It's dead. And I just remember we put the play in, and Calvin's going to run a hitch, and I go to our coach, and I'm like, well, what do you want me to do with the ball if they run cover 2? And they were like, no, just still throw it to Calvin. And I was sitting there going, no, the defense knows that Calvin's running a hitch route, and they're in the perfect play call for it. And our coach was like, just throw it to Calvin. I get in the game. Sure enough, we're playing the Colts. We call the hitch route. The Colts call cover 2, and I just sit there and think to myself, like, all right, I'm just going to throw it to Calvin. 35 yards later, there was a completion. So, like, to your point, these guys, really 3 out of the 4 are like this. It doesn't matter that the defense knows. I'll take Cincinnati strictly off this. 2 reasons why. Size over speed. I do think the size of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I enjoy, the ability to just throw the ball somewhere in their vicinity. Tyreek will go climb up and go make a play on the ball. I haven't seen Jaylen do that a ton. But just the ability of those guys, their physical frame, a little bit more, their ability to go make those contested catches. And I really believe that Jamar and Tyreek, I could put by themselves one-on-one like we would do with Calvin or like we would do with Andre Johnson or Reggie Wayne and say, you go whoop your guy. It's one-on-one. You got to go win on your route. Tyreek can do that a little bit. Jaylen necessarily hasn't. Jaylen is one of those guys, you got to move him in the slot, and he's absolutely electric in there, and a little bit with Tyreek. But for T and Jamar, I could just put you out there. There's also this reality. Jamar's season last year of 102 catches, 1,600 yards, and 15 touchdowns, Tyreek nor Jaylen have never had that season. Tyreek's best season is sniffing, I think, 1,300 yards. He's had 15 touchdowns in a season, but only 1,300 yards. So in the cumulative, Jamar's had a better season than either of those guys. And T, in many ways, had, Jaylen last year had 100 catches, 1,000 yards, Higgins' best season is like 80 catches, 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. So they're both pretty much on par with production. So I think that with the size, the ability to go one-on-one, and the production, I'll take Cincinnati's, but I feel really good about either duo.
Well, let me say this to you. Tyreek Hill did have 111 receptions last year. I mean, it wasn't like he had 50 receptions. He had 111 receptions. Now, I say to you 111 receptions with Travis Kelce as his tight end. Let's not ignore that.
And everybody knew it.
That's
your
right.
point. That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay. I don't adamantly feel I got to argue off that one.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. You're growing up.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.